Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Fans Talk Wrestling Podcast, FTW. FTW is a weekly WWE and TNA discussion board, where the fans talk the wrestling world in all of its laughable glory. Like how I covered that up. This is episode 232, recorded live on September 9th, 2014 on FTWLive.com. Tonight we preview WWE Night of Champions, plus, of course, react to the week that was in WWE and TNA, including NXT Takeover 2. With us tonight is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
Leroy Jenkins.
And representing the FTW live chat hooligans, Deuce Loosely. Deuce, say hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, and with us also tonight is you, the FTW live chat hooligans. Thank you for putting up with our audio issues. I am Joe. I will be moderating tonight's conversation and probably destroying the internet. If you're listening live, say hi and leave your thoughts and comments here on FTWLive.com, on Twitter. Well, normally you'd hashtag FTWLive. But I'm not monitoring the Twitter, and if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like. Now let's talk about the week that was in wrestling, and we'll start it off with our discussion of WWE Night of Champions, our preview. It takes place this Sunday. Guys, it's a pretty full card. We've got Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, Battle of the Shield, Part 2. Rusev versus Mark Henry for Country Pride. United States Championship, Sheamus against the other non-American, Cesaro. Divas Championship, Paige versus AJ versus Nikki in a three-way, giggity giggity. The Usos versus Goldust and Stardust. For the Tag Team Championship, Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship, and Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. So, guys, the question then becomes, which match are you looking forward to the most?
Hands down, the U.S. title match. Sheamus versus Cesaro is going to be, to quote JR, a real slobber knocker. I'm especially looking forward to seeing Cesaro in action. Those two always put on a great match. It's just a knockdown, drag-out brawl, and I love it.
Yep, same here. I'm going to go with the same thing because, again, the brutality, the physicality, it's all there, and these two have some really good chemistry going on. And it's a title match, and I definitely see Cesaro walking away with this one.
Well, we'll get into predictions, right now. Probable match that we think may happen, but we don't really know, is Jack Swagger versus Bo Dallas. Deuce, who are you taking in that probable match?
Oh, probably Swagger. If it happens, it's going to be Swagger because I don't see Dallas being pushed that much more. I think in some ways he's been kind of given up on, in more or less, and so I think Jack Swagger gets the push.
Okay, Nick.
I'm going to go with Swagger too. This just seems like a momentary thing in order to build Swagger back up after how he was, frankly, mishandled with Rusev. If it was a standalone feud, then maybe there could be something to go with here. But yeah, this just seems like filler to me. And I don't really see anything else that Dallas could offer to the situation as it stands now. So definitely Jack Swagger.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Swagger myself. I think it's dude's got to win something, right? He just, after the Rusev thing, Okay, moving on. Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton. Nick, thoughts?
It looks like Randy Orton will walk out of here with the win. Frankly, I don't really care about this match. This feud doesn't really do anything for me. And Jericho doesn't need to win. Orton you can make a case for why he needs to win, given how he's fared against Roman Reigns. So, yeah, I'm gonna roll with Orton on this one.
As much as I want to see Jericho win this, I have to side. I have to go with the same way because authority. Erp. Um, Orton has to prove himself to be the guy. He has to prove himself to be the goon, and in order to maintain any kind of momentum in that direction, he's got to win this one. I mean, Jericho. I mean, I thought he was supposed to be on tour with Fozzy or something.
That's what we all thought, but
Yeah, that's what I think he's leaving. That's why I think he's done soon. I think that's the report.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's say I'm going with Orton myself. Jericho doesn't need the win. Orton needs something, and if Jericho's going away, well, then there you go. Moving on, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Deuce, who are you taking?
I'm going to take. Okay, this is going to be kind of tricky. It's either. I'm probably going to side with a kind of a screwy ending. I'm predicting unless there's a legit injury report on Ambrose, I'm predicting that he's going to make a surprise appearance and he's going to either distract Rollins and cost him the match, or he is going to interfere and cost Reigns the match. But I am probably going to side with Rollins being on the winning end.
Nick?
yeah, Rollins is my pick to win. I think he's going to win it straight up, given the fact that he is Mr. Money in the Bank. He is the golden boy of the Authority right now. And if Roman Reigns was near to the title picture, I think I would go with something a little more dusty. But Reigns doesn't have anything to do with the title picture, so I think they're going to build up Rollins to look strong here.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see Rollins being shown as strong, but they're also pushing Reigns too. So, I mean, we've had speculation on who could beat Brock Lesnar if John Cena doesn't. And we've all said Reigns is probably the top guy to go for it. So they got to build him strong. If Seth Rollins is going to win and win cleanly, you know what? Never mind. I don't even see that happening. But I'm going to go with Roman Reigns because, well, both of you are saying Seth Rollins.
Just gonna play Mr. Contrary.
Fuck yeah, I am. Why? It's my show, bitch. I got nothing else for it. Mark Henry versus Rusev. Do you guys see this as being a standout match?
It's going to be slow. It's going to be nothing but brawling and power moves, and it's probably going to be kind of slow unless Rusev decides he's going to use some speed. But I think overall it's just going to be one of those matches like we would see Mark Henry versus Big Show or something. Just two big guys going at it, and it's just going to be it's just going to be a fight, really nothing more, and I really don't see much special about it.
It's going to be a straight up Haas fight. It's going to be good. Mark Henry, for a while now, has been excellent. On the mic, in the ring, he's been great. And I don't expect any less from Rusev either. Because as badly as I think the Swagger Rusev feud was handled, Rusev himself did everything he was supposed to, I think. I don't see anywhere where he went wrong. So, as for who I'm predicting, I think Mark Henry's going to walk out with the win. I don't think you really need to build up this feud any more than you already have. I think it's at a natural ending point.
So who are you guys going with?
Mark Henry.
I went with Rusev because this his push has got to continue. I mean, all of this stuff about rallying the country and all this stuff just kind of made me think, yeah, Rusev's going to take it.
Well, who's left after Henry, though?
Big Show, maybe, and then maybe Swagger comes back.
I think this is where we see the rise of Zack Ryder. No.
Please no.
Yeah, it's got to be somebody with some kind of America fuck yeah connection. I mean, Swagger's a real American, all American, and Mark Henry's an Olympian.
Is that what we got Sheamus for, though?
I guess.
I mean, he's not American, but they love putting the U.S. title on him.
He is the ultimate American because he is U.S. champion.
Well, I was looking at more the Road to Redemption angle for Sheamus. For Swagger, because he kind of got dumped, and Bo Dallas. I thought Bo Dallas was going to be the motivating factor here, but apparently they sent him in as lamb to slaughter for Swagger. So I think Dallas is going to be the stepping stone. Swagger is going to continue moving his way up, and I would hope that he's going to get back on Rusev at some point in the hopefully near future.
Speculation. Yeah. By the way, I'm going with Mark Henry in this match. Just because I think America. Yeah, fuck yeah. I would love to see Mark Henry. They brought in his Olympic history. But what if this is with the rumor that Angle's contract is ending soon, and that he's going to be moving on.
Well, if he's under
home, if he comes back home to the WWE, do we foresee the our Olympic champion being the one to topple Rusev?
That would have to be a surprise, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. If TNA has him on a non-compete clause of any kind. I don't know the length of the term that they usually impose on that, but if Angle comes back, it's going to have to be a major surprise, and I would see that happening at maybe a Raw right after or right before a pay-per-view, if not at a pay-per-view, and it would have to be a major pay-per-view too.
I don't believe Angle is coming back to the WWE as a wrestler. Ever. I think he's done as far as that can be concerned.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. He's kind of, he's had his years, and he might have one more match left in him, but not against somebody like Rusev. I think, he might be in shape and everything, but I don't, I think his, at least his neck has been broken down too many times to withstand too much more.
Yeah, there's no way he's passing that wellness policy or their physical tests.
Now, if anything, he'll probably put together a new Team America of some kind.
Bring back Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas?
God, I wish.
That would be interesting, but yeah, I don't foresee that happening. But he is the Cyborg. You never know. They might give him a short run just for an America fuck yeah thing. You never know.
Put a mask on him, bill him as the son of the Patriot.
Or we could bring Hulk Hogan back as Mr. America.
Yeah, or he could just be Mr. America, because we don't know that it was Hogan underneath the mask. What? Right?
Oh, okay.
Come on. It could have been. They never said. Kayfabe, motherfuckers, do you speak it?
Come on.
All right, so Nick, you said you're going with Mark Henry, and Deuce, you're going for Rusev.
I'm taking Rusev.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, we are going to move on to the U.S. Championship match: Sheamus versus Cesaro. Can Sheamus do any wrong? Can Cesaro topple Lobsterhead?
I think Cesaro is going to pull it off. I don't necessarily. Well, I'm not a huge fan of Sheamus. The man is a great worker, but he needs a heel turn, something fierce. He's a heel in everything but name. So the sooner that turn happens, the better, I think. Meanwhile, Cesaro absolutely deserves a title. The man's been putting in the work of his career lately. So I really hope this is where he comes out on top.
I sincerely hope so myself because I'm looking at Cesaro to win the title. As much, and I think Sheamus is more interesting, if that's even a relevant word for Sheamus, to when he's chasing a title, not so much when he has one. Um, but I mean, it's so hard anymore to in WWE to determine who's a face and who's a heel. I mean, it's so hard to be hated there anymore. There's just it just seems to be no time to build any heel heat. But I would really like to, I mean, because Cesaro's been a Heyman guy, and he branched out from that, and hopefully he will turn on the heat. If they're not turning him face, hopefully they'll give him something to turn into heel. But as far as he and Sheamus goes, they have the chemistry. There's going to be a great match, but I see Cesaro coming out on top. He kind of needs this one.
Yeah. Cesaro definitely needs it. Sheamus, like it's been said, I mean, the guy seems to do no wrong. Seemingly in the WWE eyes, he's just consistent. He's bland, and that's not a poke at his skin tone. It's you know what you're getting with Sheamus every time, and that bothers me. Cesaro is a guy who's needed a push and needed something because he's a fantastic worker. He's amazing on the mic. When he was doing the 5 language thing and insulting everybody in 5 languages, that was brilliant. Then they made him yodel, and that was terrible. And that was like the beginning of the downfall. I mean, I think Cesaro's going to win this or I'm hoping he wins it, I should say. He's my pick. I've said it so many times before, I am not a Sheamus fan. Just because nothing changes for Sheamus.
See, this goes back to what I heard Triple H say during during the CM Punk documentary. He's like, it's not the title that makes the guy. It's the guy that makes the title. And Sheamus has had, I don't even remember how long he's had the title. There have been times when I forgot who the U.S. who the U.S. title holder was, because Sheamus just doesn't really do anything to bring it. He doesn't really have the presence to carry it. To carry a title, and so I'm looking at Cesaro as the guy to make something out of this. It's like, bring the U.S. title to prominence again. Do something to bring back some prestige to it.
I don't think I can agree with that philosophy because look at Ambrose. He was he was the U.S. champion for almost a year, and nothing happened there.
But he never, they never had him defend it, and he was part of a faction, and they had to split focus between the three of those guys. So it's just like, I mean, now that he's on his own, it's a different story. I mean, Cesaro doesn't have that to worry about. He doesn't have to split. He doesn't have to share attention with Paul Heyman now. He's on his own, and he's just, focus is entirely on Cesaro. If he has the title, it's up to him to do something to make it noticeable, make it important, to make people want to chase it.
Well, that's what I mean, is that philosophy doesn't work when you have all these other variables and outlying factors like that. Ambrose is an incredibly polarizing figure, but not only was he not booked for anything outside of outside of the weekly Raw, outside of the 3-man or the 6-man tag matches. But for the longest time, they would only book an IC title match or a US title match, and they almost always went with IC title. So, regardless of whether it's Ambrose or a guy like Sheamus or a guy like Cesaro or a guy like Santino, I don't think it's quite the character makes the title anymore. Maybe a long, long time ago that was the case, but I mean, people live or die on the pushes that creative hand out. And you need to kind of support a guy if he's holding the title, you know?
I mean, it's nice to, but see what I'm saying is, I mean, Cesaro, being his own guy. I mean, we really don't know what kind of say he has, governing his character, governing, what they actually do with him. And for all we know, he has more control than we realize. And maybe they've got some plan for him. And so once he's out there and once hopefully they'll do something meaningful with him once he has a title, or if not the U.S. title, but hopefully they do something meaningful enough that that he's out there, and everybody knows that he's the U.S. champion, and everybody knows he's got this title again, and they can focus on people chasing him and chasing the title. And if Cesaro, if he has control, even a little bit of creative control, he can actually have input into like how he can draw heat or draw notice or whatever, and bring the title back to some kind of prominence. I think he can do it, and I think I think he can still. I think he can honestly make that title something again.
Okay. I think we should move on to the next match, which is the Divas Championship. The reigning champion Paige against AJ Lee and Nikki Bella.
Oh.
Yeah. This has a lot of potential, though, because Paige and AJ are great workers. Maybe they might rub off on Nikki a little bit.
I'm getting the feeling that it's more of a hope than an actual feeling that it might happen. But seeing that there's a Bella in the mix, I'm wondering how much of a ruse that this sibling rivalry actually is. If maybe they're gonna listen to the fans, because no one is digging this, what's going on between those two, and seeing that they didn't put the Bellas in a match against each other, which would have been disastrous. Seeing that there's a Bella involved in this three-way, I'm wondering if maybe the other Bella doesn't come down. It's like, surprise! We were in it. We were in on it all along. And this is why I'm looking at Nikki to win this match. As much as it pains me to say so, I feel like there's something screwy going on that she's even involved.
I think that's kind of reaching a little too far. I don't really see the conspiracy theory angle, just given the level of vitriol there's been between the two. In the past, when you have those kind of deep cover angles, yeah, they always do something to try and sell it, but they don't just tear into each other the way that Nikki did with Brie. I think if this was some kind of stunt on their part, Brie would be firing back, not just standing there and taking it. As far as the match itself goes, I'm actually looking forward to this. Of course, we got AJ and Paige. I'm definitely looking forward to what they bring to the table, but Nikki's developed into a decent, if not good, worker. She had a match recently with Emma that was great. And I don't think it was a case of Emma making her look good. Nikki actually did stuff that was legitimately good. I think she can at least hold her own. If nothing else, she won't slow down Paige and AJ, but I think she can actually contribute to this match. As far as the winner goes, I think it's going to be AJ. Um, I don't see Nikki's participation in this being anything more than a one-off, and then Nikki will go back to focusing on Brie. Maybe Brie interferes with Nikki somehow. But I see this going back to AJ and Paige and them trading shots back and forth, and AJ seems to have Paige's number right now. So I I think AJ is going to walk out with a title here.
See, and I'm looking at the whole thing going, AJ and Paige are going to be going after each other because that's where their rivalry is. Nikki's going to sneak out a win, even if Brie comes down. So then it's Nikki versus Brie for the title going forward.
I probably missed this part, but why is she involved? Why is she in this match?
It was a reward from Stephanie for all the hardship and suffering she endured at the hands of her sister.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I try to tune. Anytime Steph is on screen, I try to tune anything that involves her out.
You just turn down the volume and stare at her boobs, or
I just I'm always I'm always behind the computer. The TV's on the other end of the room, so I just kind of mute the volume and wait for a few minutes.
fair enough. So we're all over the board on this one. I mean, Garvin's taking Paige, Nick's taking AJ, Deuce and I are with Nikki. Yeah, we're getting Cena slappy seconds on that one. But you know, the crew is all over the board, which leads us to the Tag Team Championship. The Usos against the Dust Brothers, Golden Stardust. Their quest for the Cosmic Key. Who's going to take this one?
What the hell is the Cosmic Key? I've been watching, and I haven't I tend to get lost with what. I mean, I saw Cody's last Twitter post, and it's like, I think I know what he's trying to say, but it's.
We'll give us your speculation, and then we'll tell you if you're right.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's talking about the titles in some weird way, but the language that he's using is just like, what are you even? Where are you getting this? It's like, It's like, what book are you reading that you're pulling these lines out of, or what drugs are you taking? Can I have some?
It's straight up Tolkien. I think he's ripping it straight from Gollum. I think that's his inspiration there. I'm absolutely looking forward to this match. The Dusties have always intrigued me ever since they started this angle, and it is long overdue for them to have the titles.
They will definitely bring attention back to these titles. As much as I hate to say it, and I'm judging by crowd reaction too, and just by what kind of match what they do in all their matches. But the Usos have kind of gone a little bit stale, and I think people are a little bit. I think they're ready for a title change, and I think the Dust Brothers are the prime candidates for this. I think they would be good with the titles like they were last time. Only this time they're heels, and but I don't think it makes a difference. They still have the gimmick, the charisma. They still have the connection with the crowd and whatnot. So I think it's time. I'll take the Dust Brothers.
I'm going with the Dusties just because, well, it is time for a change. The Usos have had the titles for a while. They've done decent work with them, but the division's gotten stale, so we need a change. It's a bummer that it got stale with them, but that's because they decided to not put spotlight on them as much anymore, which is fine. I mean, there's lots of other storylines to put the spotlight on, but yeah, I think with the spotlight change, we need something else to draw our eye there, and I think this is it.
We have somebody on the Robert on the live chat's taking the Usos, but he's waiting on the Ascension to be called up. Now, just a question, just to ask real quick, it's like, what's your take on? I mean, how do you feel about you know, how would you feel about the Ascension being called up if that if that happened like next week?
I would
There's
love the
certain
Ascension to be called up.
Yeah, there's certainly room right now, given that Slater, Gator, and Rybaxel don't seem to be anywhere at the moment. Los
Or
Matadores is on main event.
Rybacksel's out only because Ryback is out.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about the hospitalization. Um, but I I do see the Ascension making the jump shortly. But for the reason that Robert is booking the Usos to win here, I think that's I think it's equally likely that the Ascension would come up and challenge the Dusties. If only for the fact that fucking monsters against fucking weird would be fucking awesome. And that could even be the way that they turn the Dusties face again.
So it's
Because
all out of fucking.
oh yeah. I mean, the Ascension isn't going to come in as anything but monster heels. So whoever they face off against is going to be the good guy for at least a little while.
If that were to ever, I mean, if the Ascension were to come in, I would probably wait for at least a month to give the Dust Brothers time to hold the titles, as heels before changing roles so soon.
I don't think they need to. They don't need to have them focused as heels. I mean, yes, they're the more heelish team in this feud right now, but it's not like they don't have like we've said before. They don't. It's not like they don't have a legitimate reason for doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, they're behaving like bastards because they thought the Usos screwed them over.
Right.
If they have the titles now, they don't really have any reason to be bastards unless the Usos decide to go Uso crazy on their on-day ass afterward.
Richard St. H is asking, is saying that the gimmick, I'm guessing the Ascension gimmick is, he's saying the gimmick is dead, and that makes me question, it's like, do you think that gimmick would carry over? Do you think it would make the transition, or do you think that WWE would change them?
Absolutely, that gimmick's going to carry over. It's not dead. I didn't see Hideo Itami's debut as jobbing out the Ascension. Because, yeah, the Ascension did drop the titles, but they're still monsters. They were building up Itami rather than tearing the Ascension down. The Ascension can just build themselves back up with the win the next week. They've still got a lot of credibility because right now they are the longest reigning tag team champions in NXT.
I was a little bit perplexed why why Ascension came down to to harass Hitami.
They were pissed and they wanted to fuck shit up.
I mean, I would have, if they really, I mean, I would have booked them to like wreak havoc all over the entire card. At least every other person that they ran into, if that were the case. But the fact that they lost the match, they disappeared, but then they came out to harass Itami, and it's like, are they going to tag him up with somebody to take on the Ascension before they do anything with him or whatever?
I don't think so. I think they're going. I mean, if anything, you're going to have him versus the Ascension in a one-upsmanship kind of thing. Like he'll take on one, he'll beat him, then beckon the other one, and try and just outdo them both on a singles level.
Yeah, I think so too.
It gives them something else to do while while they put more focus on other parts of the tag team division, and then have them go for the NXT title. Kind of thing.
Okay. Okay, I think so. I think we got a little bit off track there.
Well, we're still talking. I mean, we're still in
Yeah.
the tag team division, but you're right. We
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 went
did
to
start off there.
NXT there.
Yes, we did, and we will get back there. Trust me, because that is our next topic after we finish up Night of Champions. So, really quickly, guys, internet or not internet, Continental Championship.
Interconnection.
Yes. The
Your internet champion, Zack Ryder.
yes. The wow, man, I cannot speak. Intercontinental Championship, Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz. Guys, does Miz or Damien Mizdow, do they have a shot at getting toppling the Zigmeister?
I think if Damien has any involvement in this pay-per-view, it would probably be a dark match against R-Truth or R-Ziggler. This whole thing with the stunt doubles is kind of annoying me now. But I don't see Sandow being, any factor in this, and I see Miz getting his moneymaker broken in some way, or getting it marred up, at least. But Ziggler has to win this. He has to retain because Miz just he has to be riding somebody's coattails in order to stay relevant or to stay interesting, if that's even a relevant term for him. But he's never been really anything unless he's riding somebody, and he's got to it's time for him to move on to somebody else to make him look any good, and Ziggler needs to move on. So I say Ziggler retains.
While I don't hate fun like Deuce does, I think Ziggler is going to move on and win the title here. I don't
just never liked that guy. I've never something about him just like never mind. Anyway,
this stunt double angle is hilarious. Damien Sandow is killing it. The way he just stopped everything in the match and yelled, "Awesome!" with such commitment. I just love it. Sandow is a genius. I believe Ziggler's going to walk out here. I don't think there's anywhere left to go right now with this feud with The Miz. As much as I would love these two to keep feuding for eternity, because these two work well together, I'm afraid it would get stale after a while, just like it did with Swagger and Rusev. Swagger and Rusev worked well together. It's just they went on and on and on without any direction. I want them to avoid the same thing happening with Ziggler and Miz, and I think a new opponent is exactly what Ziggler needs.
I agree.
I agree with you guys both. Very, 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 very much so. There we go. Ziggler, yeah, it seems the entire crew wants Ziggler to win this one. Miz, he's languishing. Ziggler needs something else to make himself relevant, and I think that's where that's going. Moving on to the main event, the World Heavyweight Championship, or the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. John Cena against Brock Lesnar.
Here comes the pain!
The one behind the one in front of the one next to the one because of the one in... Yeah, this isn't even really a question. Nothing other than Lesnar retaining makes any sense at all.
I agree with you on that, but there is the John Cena factor.
The John Cena factor needs to step back and make room for, I mean, this only leads to the question. It's like who else could there possibly be for Lesnar? If Cena holding the title yet again, like after like a month after losing it, it just cheapens the title even more. And Lesnar, as far as I'm concerned, he's more legit than Cena is as champion. But I digress. I just don't see anything else happening. I mean, Lesnar has to retain.
I want to point out what they've been doing with Lesnar for the past year from his deal with Undertaker onward. They've practically been spelling the end out for us for every feud. With Taker, they were talking about how they brutalized Undertaker, how he'd eat, sleep, conquer the streak. And that's exactly what he did when nobody thought it would happen. And then he went on to face John Cena, and nobody thought Super Cena would get toppled. Well, that's exactly what he did. This is the rubber match for Cena and Lesnar, and I believe the WWE is going to stick to the way they've been booking him in the past. They're telling us there's no way that John Cena can beat a bully like Lesnar, and he won't. I firmly believe that's what's going to happen. I think Lesnar's only going to get toppled when they decide on a guy who is eventually going to replace John Cena. Be it Roman Reigns, who I don't think that'll be him, but that remains to be seen. Whether it be Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, whoever, until they've got a guy firmly in mind, I don't think Lesnar's going to be toppled.
If they choose any one of those guys, they're going to have to do some serious building. I mean, some smart building, not just in terms of time wise, but they're going to have to make it look. They're going to have to put creative to work on this one, because Lesnar is a monster.
Do they revisit that storyline that we expected them to have way back when Cena and Lesnar fought at Extreme Rules, and Cena he had the injured arm, and it's like, yeah, I'm taking a break. I'm going to be gone for a while. Oh, he's back on Monday Night Raw.
I don't think they go back to the well on that one, just because there's nobody really to replace him. You could kind of make the argument that there was last time, since you had Punk and Bryan around, but Roman Reigns is not a CM Punk or even a Daniel Bryan. Reigns has a lot of crowd support, but he doesn't carry things like Cena, like Punk, like Daniel Bryan could. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they do decide to take that course of action. I don't believe they will. Cena might be gone a couple weeks, but that's it.
And I do agree with Robert to a great extent here that Vince is probably protecting him. He's protecting their meal ticket, protecting their golden boy, by probably giving him a fake injury or something to take him out for a while. Not having him chase Brock Lesnar. Hello? Everything went quiet.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Hello. Okay.
Okay.
So apparently part of this audio, and I'm making a note here, 1 hour in. Thereabouts. Apparently, if I drop my microphone volume, you guys are losing audio, and I don't understand why, because I only did it in Mixler.
Weird.
Odd. Science. Okay. And now we're back in 3. So we're all going with Lesnar. This is the
I think it's pretty obvious.
Okay. Yeah, so, ladies and gentlemen, that is our predictions for Night of Champions. That takes place this Sunday at 8 p.m. On the WWE Network, if you've got the network, or even if you don't. I mean, is WWE even showing this in, actual pay-per-view anymore?
Or do they want to say yes?
Or do they just put everything on the network now?
It's definitely on pay-per-view in Canada, because they've got the original broadcast deal. Like, the original plan for the network, that's what's going up in Canada, because they're backwards and their internet runs on maple syrup.
Gotcha.
And this brings up a question that I noticed because I noticed that the usual feed that I used for pay-per-views is down and disconnected and gone. And when I tried to find another one, a screen came up for the WWE Network, and it showed two prices. There was a $9.99, which we all know about, but there was also a $12.99 option. I didn't go in to see what difference there was, but I'm wondering, why is there a $12.99 option?
Maybe it's $9.99 US, $12.99 Canadian. I don't know.
I've heard that it's $12.99 if you cut your commitment short, but I'm not entirely sure. And obviously, we're all speaking in hypotheticals here because none of us use illegal feeds at all.
Oh, never.
We're upright, upstanding citizens.
I'll show you my credit card receipt. I have a WWE Network account.
Yeah.
I pay for that shit. Okay. So we're in a little long there, but we are going to jump right over to that other branch of the WWE. That would be NXT. NXT Takeover 2 happened. It took place on September 11th. Never forget. The card, the Ascension faced the Lucha Dragons, Sin Cara and Kalisto, with the Luchas taking the championship away from the Ascension. What? Baron Corbin defeated CJ Parker. Enzo Amore defeated Sylvester Lafort in a hair versus hair match.
How you doing?
Yeah. The debut of Kenta, or Hideo Itami, not by Ric Flair, because Flair actually ended up having surgery. That was a cool moment. Bull Dempsey beat Mojo Rawley. Charlotte retained against Bayley, the Women's NXT Championship. And in the Fatal 4-Way NXT Championship, Adrian Neville, not Adrian Neville like we've said in past, Adrian Neville defeated Tyson Kidd, Sami Zayn, and Tyler Breeze. Guys, what are your thoughts on this pay-per-view? What was like your match of the night?
That's tough. I mean, between the last two matches, it is really tough to call. But I think I'm going to give the edge to the 4-way. That was just crazy, the whole thing, and that little jab at the end where Neville pulls Zayn. Wait a minute, was it Neville pulling Zayn or the ref out of the ring?
Yeah.
Somebody got pulled out of the ring, and Zayn was like, "What the fuck, man?" And then Neville pulled his little thing and picked up the scraps, and yeah, that I'd have to take the 4-way as the highlight of the night, even though that the women's title was really, really, really close second. I was surprised about that one.
I think the women's title match might have had the best storytelling going on, just given all the history between Bayley and Charlotte, and even post-match when Sasha Banks came out to attack Bayley and Charlotte stopped it. I don't know if that's necessarily going to lead to a face turn by Charlotte, but yeah, it's definitely blurring the lines here. Bayley's straight up face, Sasha's straight up heel now, but Charlotte's kind of a gray area.
Just like Ric Flair always was, most of the time.
Yeah, and my only concern is I don't know if there's enough depth in the division down in NXT for that to work. Given the fact that right now there's only 4 women in that division on TV right now. You've got Bayley, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch. 5 with Alexa Bliss. So that's 3 straightforward faces against 1 heel and one tweener. So you're kind of limited in how you can construct feuds there.
Well, with a show as short as, you have an hour a week for NXT, and they have a full roster as far as I can tell, and I think this gives, I think even one women's match spotlight per week, would be plenty enough to hold people's attention, to to distract it away from away enough from the fact that the division is so is so not populated. I mean, I don't think anybody's really going to think about that because they are so much better at putting a story together. People are looking at the story. They're not looking at, well, who's going to be next. They're not speculating. They're watching what's going on now. So it's going to give NXT time to build somebody else up or maybe bring someone new in to add to that division.
That is a good point about NXT is only an hour long. My worry is that you're going to get stuck in a rut with be it Bayley versus Charlotte or Sasha versus Charlotte. You're not going to see much variation outside of that, like you did when there were a few more divas in that division. Because I want to see more Charlotte versus Becky Lynch. Not necessarily for the title, although I wouldn't say no to that. But I think you need those quote-unquote random matches now and again just to mix things up and keep things fresh.
But see, if let's say we have Charlotte and Sasha on one end, or maybe we have Bayley and Sasha on one end, and Charlotte and see, between those three, I think something's brewing between those three, and maybe Charlotte's going to be the neutral party in between, but based on what happened at the end of that match Thursday night, I think there's something. I think something's brewing there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that you take the focus off that. That should absolutely be the main focus of the Divas division in NXT. I'm saying that you don't want to forget the other divas too, because Becky Lynch especially needs some airtime to solidify what she's doing, because she's been through so many gimmick changes in her short TV time already.
Right. And like I said, there's going to be time, there's going to be room to bring somebody new in to for her to have something to do, or if she and Bayley get like a little side thing going on, or her and it's the roster is already is full enough that they don't even have to focus on the women every week. Maybe every other week, but every other week at the most, just to keep people from seeing the fact that there are only 4 or 5 girls there, but and it goes right back to the fact that the show's they only get an hour a week to do their stuff, and they really can't focus on too much every single week. So I think the women are pretty safe in that regard, at least for right now, until someone wakes up and is just like, you know what, there aren't that many women on this roster. I just think there's enough going on right now that they're not even going to really think about that. But I digress.
Yeah, so jumping all the way back to the original thought, I really liked the 4-way. The women's match was phenomenal, much better than I expected out of Bayley, as reason stated last week. She really surprised me. She really showed why she was in the spot she's in. Awesome. Hideo, loved the interaction with the Ascension. Loved it. Like, where he grabbed the chair, got in the ring, you figured he's going to be swinging at him. He just sits down and, gestures like, come on, motherfucker.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was awesome. That was just great.
I liked how that move popped Regal. You could see him kind of turn away as he grinned. That was a great moment.
Yeah. So those were my high spots for the pay-per-view. As it were, we're so used to saying pay-per-view, and it really isn't a pay-per-view. It's a supercard. Because you can't pay to get NXT Takeover. Well, you can if you pay $9.99. But really, that doesn't qualify as a pay-per-view, in my opinion. That being said, Garvin took 4 picks. Nick took 3. I took 3, which still keeps Garvin 1 up on Nick in the overall standings. The top 3, Garvin 43, Nick 42, myself 31, and the list trails off Scott 24, Kevin 13, Harrison 12, Dinosaur Lee 5, and Lee with 3.
When did this count begin?
The count begins at the show after WrestleMania. WrestleMania is the final show.
Okay, because I'm definitely jumping in on this. I think I can catch up. I think I can do it.
Frankly, I'm impressed at how well Scott is doing, considering he's here for like 1 show out of 4.
Yeah.
1 pay-per-view out of 4.
Yeah, Scott is this year doing very well, and I mean, he's probably had the same amount of shows that Kevin's had. So,
what is the asterisk about?
I have no idea.
They didn't pick for a number of shows.
Oh, okay.
Like, so, I think Joe, you, me, and Garvin are the only 3 that have picked for everyone thus far.
I believe so. So that is NXT. We are moving on. We are moving on to TNA. This week, all the knockouts stood in the ring as JB announced who would be on the cover of the official Knockout Spin-Up calendar. Poor Angelina Love. She didn't get it. Tear. Oh, tear. Aww. I'm so hurt. I'm so that whore. Velvet.
Looks like 12 miles of bad road these days.
Who, Velvet or Angelina?
Angelina.
Yeah, she's never looked good to me.
So Havoc.
Yeah. So yeah, I was getting there. So Havoc came down afterwards, came down to the ring, attacked Gale, and walked off with the women's title. Is it too soon to push Havoc towards the title and above all the other people who were in that ring?
I don't think so. Given the fact that Gale's already beaten everybody thus far, I mean, excepting maybe Brittany and Tazmacher, but I mean, Tazmacher is not doing anything right now, and Brittany, she's nowhere near the title picture. Gale's beaten everybody, so I don't see any reason why Havoc wouldn't immediately beeline for the title. And realistically, I don't think there's any reason why she wouldn't take it on the first try.
I mean, she comes in with a name, with a reputation, and she's already had the. I mean, she has a build-up following her. You know, she already has a fan base, and people already know what she's about. So I don't. So yeah, I think that's. And like you said, Gale's beaten everybody. There's really no one to challenge. You know, they need Havoc to do this, and they're not going to job her out. Not after all this build-up. So, no, I think it's as good a time as any, and maybe somehow or other maybe Havoc pisses off enough of the knockouts that you know, she gets interfered with in the first title match, and you know, that builds something between her and like the entire division or something like that. But I don't know. Realistically, I think it'll probably won't be too long before she has that title and everyone's chasing her. I think she's going to become the dominant knockout. Just, you know, she's going to be the next Kong.
That's something we speculated with as a possibility. We talked about that last week. So if you guys missed that conversation, be sure to go to FTWpodcast.com and check that out, because that is available for you right there. Or subscribe on iTunes. It's right there too. James Storm has begun converting Manic to his Revolution. Now that Storm has Sonata and Manic in his stable, since Manic is being processed through right now, is that where this ends, or do you think anybody else is going to join him?
I would like to think that there'd be room for one other guy, because there are guys in TNA that aren't being used right now, or at least aren't being used well. I think you could do a lot worse than add Crazy Steve to that stable and actually give him a direction. Because the menagerie is not doing anything for him, and I think he can do better. Just given what I've seen in the X Division matches, yeah, he doesn't really do much in terms of moveset, but it's obvious the guy's got incredible athletic ability, given the way he bounces all over the place. So he could definitely be a player in the X Division and nothing else.
Unless he targets Low Ki. I don't know why that name just like jumped at me for a minute. I'm just like, to me, he would seem like somebody that James Storm would absolutely want in that stable to round things out, unless they are satisfied with just Sonata and Manic. But I think realistically there should be a third, and if this is going to be a revolution, I think I would rather see Low Ki being sucked in somehow. I think they need to do more with him. I mean, Crazy Steve, I really haven't. I mean, I see your point that we haven't seen really enough of him to determine whether or not he'd be good in that role or whether or not he would be effective. I don't know if James Storm has seen enough to say that yeah, let's do something with him. I think he has potential. Between him and Low Ki, I would probably side with Low Ki, but it's going to take something a little more creative than a beatdown or two to lure him in.
Yeah, I mean, Low Ki sounds like an excellent addition. It starts to fall apart when you think about why Storm is targeting guys like Sonata and Manic. He's going after guys that he sees aren't living up to their potential. The guys that are directionless. And that fits Sonata and Manic very well before Storm got to them. Low Ki, he's had a focus. He's been laser focused on that X Division title. He's got something going on. So, I mean, as awesome as it would be to see Low Ki in that kind of angle, I think he would be one of the guys fighting against James Storm.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Never mind. Go ahead.
So I agree with you, Nick, that I don't think Low Ki's going to be the guy, but I don't necessarily think Crazy Steve would be another addition either. I just don't know if they're going to add another guy who it exactly would be. It seems a little awkward to try and put someone else in there.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really anybody left that I can think of that would be as good a pick as a Sonata or a Manic, because those two guys, they absolutely deserve to be booked better. It's just that until they put James Storm in this angle, they didn't really have anything else for him. I think I'm going with Crazy Steve just because I want to see at least somebody from the menagerie go someplace. And as much as I like Rob Terry and Nux, I don't see them fitting in an angle like this, and I don't know what you can do with them. Unless maybe you want to put Nux and the Freak as a separate tag team.
Well, I mean, if we're looking in the live chat, Robert Carmichael brings up Homicide. Homicide could be a possible guy. I mean, then you have Suicide, Homicide. You could name Sonata Genocide. I don't know. And then you sacrifice all three of them and you bring forth Sabu.
I was thinking about Homicide, but I was also trying to think. It's like, how would what would be the reasoning? But I mean, I understand being lacking focus and lacking direction and whatnot, not living up to potential and all that. But I'm also thinking about, well, how long, how much does TNA plan on using Homicide in the long run? I mean, did they just bring him in to boost the X division for the for this title thing, and are they phasing him out, or is this just something for the New York tapings, or are they going to keep him as a permanent fixture?
I mean, you raised that question, and it's a valid question, but I also feel the same way about Low-Key. I mean, I guess I never heard of him signing anything outside of a short-term deal.
I think they're relatively long-term. If nothing else, they're on the roster. They didn't do that for Snitsky and Rick Lunn. They were definitely just one-timers for New York, and they've also got Rhino on the roster. So the roster page isn't the running joke it was when TNA would refuse to update it. They're usually pretty on the ball with that now.
Matt brings up a couple of good things here. I'm interested to see what happens with Manic, and I was thinking that maybe maybe Storm tags Sonata and Manic, whatever his new gimmick's going to be, and maybe they take on the Wolves next. But he also says he brings up Rockstar Spud, and I don't know. When I think about that, it's like that could be really interesting. Just taking him from clown to something else. Maybe he's the next guy.
Maybe. I see Spud going back to his pre-TNA gimmick, like his indie and OVW gimmick. Like he actually goes back to the '80s rocker kid.
I was just gonna say, it's like I really like to see him do more. I would really like to see what he can actually do. As in the ring, because I haven't seen a lot of that, and I'm sure there's more than what I have seen to Spud. I mean, they wouldn't have brought him in if he didn't have some kind of upside. So I really want to see them use him more and use him better. And I'm just, I think if Storm doesn't take him on, I'm hoping that they put him out there somehow and they let him go, let him do his thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Spud actually, I mean, we know the guy can work. It's just that he hasn't been in that particular role. But
yeah, they need something for him to do. Now that like Matt said, EC3 has let him go pretty much, and I don't know if Dixie's going to retain him, but either way, yeah, I think he needs something to do. Something significant.
Yeah, he definitely does need something to do, and we'll see what they're going to do. I mean, heck, he could be the next like Crash Holly of the hardcore division, or in WWE. Crash just had those amazing matches where he was the Houdini of hardcore, always winning those matches. They might maybe do something squirrely with him there, and he actually gets a winning streak.
That sounds like a good idea.
It'd be fun TV anyway.
I would kill to see Spud versus Crazy Steve.
I have a feeling that's not too far. That's not too far ahead because the way the menagerie is going. I mean, they really need to do something with those guys. And yeah, if Storm doesn't do something with Crazy Steve, then yeah, put him and Spud in the program.
Yeah.
Or Spud and Crazy Steve against the Bromans. That would be genius.
Oh God, that would be hilarious.
That it would. Since we've jumped so far away from the original question here, let's move on. TNA Bound for Glory takes place Sunday, October 12th from the, how do you say that, Nick?
Chloroquine
Hall. And we'll be previewing it on Tuesday, October 7th on FTW235. So hopefully we'll have those awkward issues worked out. The only thing scheduled so far is the induction of Team 3D into the TNA Hall of Fame. We have speculation matches. I want to run through these really quick, guys. or I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, not speculation matches. These are the matches for TNA's No Surrender. Um, Ladder match between the Hardys, Team 3D, and the Wolves. Deuce, who you taking?
I gotta take the Wolves. I mean, I think this is a foregone conclusion. I don't. I mean, the 3D's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. The Hardys, I don't see them in any other role other than putting guys over now. Just as the hot shot factor to get TNA over in New York. So I think the Wolves retain and they move on to spotlight either like Bram or Magnus, or like I said, maybe even Manic and Sonata.
Yeah, this is definitely the Wolves' fight to win. They've got no other choice at this point but to win a match, and I think the Wolves are going to be the ones to win the series, as I've said before. This is a way to build them up, if not to the level of 3D and the Hardys, then at least get them a lot closer than they were before. At least in the eyes of the mainstream fan.
I'd agree with that one. I'm also picking the Wolves because this series needs to continue, and this is the only way the series continues, considering that you only have to win 2 matches to win the series. So if we don't have them win the match, then we get nothing else. So moving on, Knockouts Battle Royal for the #1 contendership. Beautiful People, Velvet Sky, Angelina Love, Brittany, Rebel, Taryn Terrell, Madison Rain, and Havoc. Looks like we're all going with Havoc, although I do want to throw out the idea that, if everybody gangs up on Havoc and knocks her out, then there we go.
I think that would happen if this were later in Havoc's run, but since she's so new, I think she's got to dominate here.
Yeah, it is. I think this is a foregone conclusion. I mean, they put her even in the picture. They put her smack in the middle. So I think that's a tell.
Yeah, because the creative arts group is now booking. Kidding. Yeah, I think it looks like we're all going with Havoc, and it makes sense. The X Division Championship, Samoa Joe versus Homicide.
I gotta take Joe, and I think perhaps I think they're looking for the right person to take it from him. I mean, I think they're looking for somebody. I don't see Joe as either face or heel. Like, he's just, he's always been there, for himself. He's been like the mercenary of TNA, and I think they need someone who's in a definitive role to take that title from him. Somebody who's believable and viable. And I don't see Homicide being that guy. I don't see them. I don't see him losing the title just yet.
Yeah, Joe's going to kill Homicide, which is some really existential shit. Homicide is in the same vein as Low Key right now. He's just a hometown hero used to pop the crowd, and not that you really need that in a match with the caliber of Joe versus Homicide or Joe versus Low Key, but certainly doesn't hurt. But yeah, Joe's definitely going to walk out with the title here against Homicide, and it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, I agree. Joe's walking out with the title. There's not a whole lot to pick from because Homicide just seems he's not sticking around for much longer.
Matt is speculating that perhaps Kenny King will be Joe's next opponent. I say that's a distinct possibility.
I should hope so. I've been wanting them to put King in the X Division and win that title for his group for forever now.
I've been waiting for them to put Kenny King in action. he's just a whipping boy right now. He's the guy who runs his mouth and gets beat up. They need to put him in something, in some significant role.
I mean, don't get me wrong. King does that role of yappy little brother justice. I mean, he does it well. It's just I don't understand why the group that is out for power and talks about being power hungry and how having the gold means having the money. I don't get why they go for the top title and nothing else. Like, it happened with Immortal, it's happening now. It happened with the Aces and Eights. They go for the World Championship like that's the only thing that matters. But you got the X Division sitting right there, and they don't even look in this direction. It's never made sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, this is why they need to do something with King. I mean, they built him up to be, it's like the King of the Night and all that stuff, and I really liked that angle. I liked that they were giving him some sophisticated kind of, player type role, and I think they need to focus just a little bit more on that. Kind of go back to that a little bit, not enough to distract from the fact that he's still a part of this group, but they really need to give him something to do before people resign him to have been clowned out.
Okay. And the World Heavyweight Championship, Bobby Lashley versus Bobby Roode. The Battle of the Bobbies. It's like we're in British Police. Nobody got that one. Okay, so...
They're the ones that wear the tits on their heads.
Exactly. Nick, you're going with Bobby Roode, where Deuce and I have selected Bobby Lashley. Why?
I don't see this one dragging out. I think they put in the requisite build with Roode getting locked out for weeks by MVP and Roode coming back and him having the number one contenders fight against Eric Young. I don't think they're going to want to drag this out for too terribly long. If nothing else, I think they want Roode to be champ by the end of the New York tapings. And No Surrender is as good a time as any, especially if they want to get in any kind of Bound for Glory action.
See, I took Lashley because I think that there needs to be. I mean, Roode hasn't taken on Lashley proper yet, and they need to build this up for Bound for Glory. I see the title change happening there, and they need these. They need the tapings to build that up, to get people to opt into the pay-per-view. They need to build more interest. They need to, it's like, is he gonna do it? Can he finally, overcome the Destroyer? And I think this is the best way to build interest to their. I mean, it's too close to their, quote unquote flagship pay-per-view to hand the title over just yet. So if it happens, and I'm pretty sure it will, it's got to happen at Bound for Glory. So I had to take Lashley on this one.
The only problem I see with that is Bound for Glory is happening in Japan, and TNA has never been to Japan. So I think they want to go in loaded for Bear, which is why they've stacked the card so heavily with talent that the Japanese audience would recognize, like the Wolves, like Team 3D, like MVP. And I also think they want to make sure that the US TNA fans pay attention as well, which is, I mean, Lashley's been good so far, but he definitely doesn't have the connection with the fans in TNA that Roode does. And I don't know if the promise of Roode becoming champion would draw as well as the fact that Roode is champion.
But this is why I think they need to, to kind of wait until Bound for Glory to build that up. They need to build up the build up that tension. I mean, right now, giving it to having Roode win it right away, like right now, just seems a little. It seems too soon to me. It seems, and again, it's too close to a major event like this. And what better way to get your main names? You'll get your biggest names known to a worldwide audience than to bring them over there. It's like um, you know it's like if they didn't know these guys before they came in, they will after this show, because I think these two are going to put on a memorable match for this pay-per-view. And they are going to make their reputations that night, I think.
Yeah, see, I mean, looking at this one, I'm saying Bobby Lashley's going to win, but I think there's going to be some shenanigans.
Oh, of course.
It's Bobby Lashley will retain maybe on a DQ, or Rude's going to win via DQ, so Bobby Lashley walks out with the title, which is how we score for our predictions. It's who walks out with the title. I think Rude winning in Japan will be a bigger deal to win the title instead of retain the title. Right. So that's why I'm gonna lean toward Bobby Lashley.
I'd probably be more in line with you guys if this were their first encounter, but they've already been building this confrontation for a long time now, because I mean, Rude's not fighting Lashley, he's fighting MVP. Lashley is MVP's pawn right now. So Rude and MVP have been butting heads for forever now. At least since Slammiversary, if memory serves. So there's already been a lot of build-up going on. So I mean, if they have to have Rude versus Lashley at Bound for Glory, then I mean, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't have Rude go over at No Surrender, win the title, and then have the build-up matches and have the rubber matches at Bound for Glory. Like, those in-between matches could happen between No Surrender and Bound for Glory, because TNA has shown absolutely no hesitation in having those big matches on just regular TV. I mean, especially for the New York tapings.
Yeah, I mean, but New York is a big deal. I mean, how many pay-per-views do they actually have per year? They have 3, maybe 3 or 4, and this is their flagship, right? Coming up, and I could definitely see. I could definitely see something happening. MVP gets involved, or whatever, to keep. I mean, there's too many factors outside the ring to keep Rude from winning. Keep Rude from winning this week. Unless Rude manages to take MVP and Kenny King out before the match, and it's just not really probable. It's not likely, but unless those two are somehow not a factor, then I just don't see Rude doing it this week. That it's got to happen on a big stage. I mean, this is a big stage. This is a big stage, confrontation, and I'll stand by Bound for Glory. I mean, they need that feel good moment. The feel good moment of the flagship pay-per-view. The WrestleMania moment, if you will.
First of all, I think EY is going to play equalizer to MVP and Kenny King. I think that's how that part's going to go down. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a lot to be said for having that big moment, having your biggest show of the year have the biggest moment you could possibly have. On the other hand, wrestling fans are pretty burnt out on waiting for that big moment. Like, you had it with Daniel Bryan with his first title win at SummerSlam, and then he got screwed again and again and again for 8 months. And then the same thing kind of happened with AJ when he was facing off against the Aces and Eights. I mean, waiting 6 months to a year for that big payoff, it used to work because the payoff used to happen. But in mainstream wrestling, there is first of all, the audience doesn't have the patience it used to have, not nearly as much. And I don't think those companies are being as creative as they need to be for that to work. Because, I mean, Cena versus Rock, a year build-up, that blew. Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton, that happened again and again and again with the same result. In TNA, you had Bobby Roode versus James Storm after Roode screwed Storm for the title, and Storm kept picking himself up and getting knocked down again, and picking himself up and getting knocked down, and it just never happened. So I would hope that TNA will be smart enough to recognize the pattern here and just give us the payoff. Like, there's enough build-up already, just give us the payoff.
See, in this, I don't know. Something tells me that this match is not going to end in any conventional way this week. The thought occurred to me, the possibility that the ref just might lose control over this match in the end because these two will not, these two come to a point where they can't, separate themselves. They're just, they're brawling and they will not separate, and the ref has to throw it out, and then security gets involved, and it becomes this big old, the usual, security had to separate these guys. It just got too, it got too much. I mean, I'd like to see it happen that way rather than having some kind of conventional, ultra conventional ending. But if that were to happen, I think it would go a little, a longer way in, keeping the tension up than, if somebody won by DQ or, interference or whatever.
Okay. Well, that was our TNA Bound for Glory predictions, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, that takes place Sunday. No, I'm sorry, that was No Surrender. My God. That was TNA No. It's because it's in big font in our document, and No Surrender's in not. That's because I didn't get into the document earlier to make notes I wanted to make, and that's because I'm lame. But that was our predictions for No Surrender. We will find out what happened after this Wednesday. Wednesday, after tomorrow night. That's awesome. One day sooner. So we are going to move on to Win Fail. Deuce, your win of the week.
I'm going with the entirety of. I'm going with NXT Takeover too. I mean, that was the highlight of the week for me. I mean, they to me, it was on. I mean, it edged out anything that happened on TNA this week, even though the Havoc spot where she pretty much laid waste to the security team. I thought that was pretty cool, and then I saw the NXT event, and I'm like, wow, that's stuff that I, would expect from TNA, and it seemed like they kind of, turned the volume up on it. So, yeah, the NXT thing, definitely.
Nick?
My win would have to be Seth Rollins imitating Roman Reigns this week on Raw, where he explained why Roman Reigns' knuckles are actually bloody. It's because he's an ape and he walks on his knuckles, and he proceeded to get down and show him how Roman walks. That was a pretty great moment. And I also have to applaud the WWE on resisting the temptation to have Roman standing right behind him as Seth stood back up.
I was waiting for that too.
Yeah, so was I, and I just have to hand it to WWE for resisting the low-hanging fruit there.
My win of the week has to be the debut of Hideo Itami. Like I said, he grabs a chair, slides into the ring. You think he's going to be brandishing it like a weapon, and he's just sits down, and it's like, come on, motherfuckers, let's do this. That was just awesome, through and through. From the live chat, win of the week, NXT, TNA, Ring of Honor. Blue says it's easily NXT. So that brings us to our fails. Nick, what's your fail of the week?
I honestly don't really have a specific fail. Nothing this week stood out to me, really. There were parts of Raw that I didn't exactly appreciate, but I didn't really pick those out as them being bad. It's just maybe uninspired. I guess that could be my fail, is just Raw for the longest time, and we've talked about it ad infinitum, ad nauseum, that Raw just hasn't been living up to what we think it should be at. So, creative direction on Raw?
Okay. Deuce?
The past month, the past 4 weeks of Raw have been completely dreadful, and I can't help but notice, like, immediately after the last pay-per-view, it was, wait a minute, what was the last pay-per-view? I forget. There's so many of them.
SummerSlam?
Was it SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Was it? Immediately after SummerSlam, Raw just took a nosedive the night after, and it hasn't picked up. And I mean, my fail was going to be the Divas, particularly Naomi and Cameron, just because they were met with silence from entrance to exit, and it's like AJ and Paige, about the only thing they have going on. Their backs must be broken from having to carry the Divas division. But I'm gonna say that the entirety of Raw, just I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know. I mean, I feel like ever since the network has become a thing, the quality curve has just gone downhill, because they're only charging a small amount for this, and I think they're going to lose a lot of money on it, because the pay-per-views, they really can't invest a lot in those pay-per-views like they used to, because of how little people are paying for them now. And that kind of the pay-per-views for me are like the peak of the curve, and Raw is in there somewhere, but it's kind of flattening out. And Raw is a prime example of what's been happening, and I don't understand why the sudden drop off. It's like it was okay before SummerSlam. It's okay, it was bearable, but the Monday after SummerSlam was just, it was over, and I don't understand what happened.
Gotcha.
And this week was no exception. I mean, if you look at the official WWE Facebook page, they have a poll every week. Did you enjoy Raw? And for the past 2 weeks running, at least 2/3 of the viewers said they didn't like it.
Interesting. From the live chat, fails are Raw, and Impact commentary, and it's got so bad that Love and Hip Hop Hollywood have got more action than Raw. Okie dokie, Robert. My fail of the week actually comes from something I downloaded today. That would be Stone Cold Steve Austin's recent podcast with Kevin Nash on the Clean feed. They spent the entire time talking about toilet paper and how it feels against your bum, and using baby wipes instead, and you got to get the 32 pack, and apparently Kevin Nash goes through like one of those big 32 packs in a week.
He's getting up there in age. He's getting up there enough where that's pretty much probably all he talks about is his bodily functions now.
Yeah, so that's my fail of the week. You guys have any quick final thoughts?
I guess my fail there would have to be that Kevin Nash was on that podcast again. But, final thought. You probably noticed by now if you've been following us on YouTube, but we're running a lot more video content now. For instance, Deuce has been running some content. Robert in the chat has been as well. And we've got more content coming. Michelle has been reviewing Total Divas, so if you're into that, go ahead and check that out.
She's taking the bullet for the team.
You shut your whore mouth and don't say anything bad about Total Divas. I have yet to watch it, but I'm sure it's excellent. And like I said, there's more content coming, so stay tuned for that.
Cool. Anything from you, Deuce?
I think I'm kind of tapped out. Any thoughts that I have are probably going to be reflected in the clips. I'm not doing rundowns anymore. I mean, I didn't expect to go as long as I did last week, and I apologize for anyone that even tried to sit through that. So I just decided to write down little topics and do clips and do it that way. And pretty much any other thoughts beyond the topics that we discussed here, they'll be reflected on the YouTube channel. So other than that, that's my shameless plug. So other than that, I got nothing.
Cool. I've got nothing as well. So that's the show. Go to FTWpodcast.com for more information about us and how to get involved in the future. And join us each and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live at FTWlive.com. For Nick, Deuce, myself, everyone in the live chat, we will see you next Tuesday.
And if you ain't here, you're soft.